hello everyone. So today we have Mr. Vijay with us who will share his experience based on like what you should consider when you are applying for a job and how you should prepare your resume, what you should consider while interviews, and other than the job search, what else you can make, what else you can do so that you can land for an interview and the mistakes which you shouldn't make. So first we will start Vijay, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Vijay Dabhi, and I work in IT industry. I have about 20 years of experience. I was international student 20 years ago in 2005, where I did my master's in computer science in Staffordshire University. Then I started working, obviously, in IT industry, and I have been working for 18 years in the UK. And I have gone through the similar journeys which you are going through now. So in the first few years or first couple of years, especially, it's very difficult to get an interview. You are not sure why you're not getting interview because you have the degree and you have a lot of expectation based on the degree. You don't have experience, so recruiters are saying you don't have experience, but you won't have experience because you are a new graduate. So you are asking for experience, but they are looking for experienced people. So how do you break that cycle? So that's the main thing, and that's what I'm going to share with you guys. How this journey, my experience, would help you in that journey.
In today's video, like we have Mr. Vijay, and we will ask so many questions one by one. And this video will be very special because he is the one who has already experienced all the points, all the pain points which we as a student face in the starting. Once we graduate, we have so many questions in our mind how we should target the company, what we should consider, and he has experienced all such points. And the best part is he wanted to share all his experience with all of us. So that's why we thought of recording it instead of guiding one by one. It's good if we can just record it, and so many students, whenever they need it, can visit this video. So, Mr. Vizil, my first question as a student will be like, what should I consider as my first step when I'm just going to start looking for a job? Like, should I just start applying for the jobs on different job boards, or should I consider something else?
Yeah, so I think job board will be the first starting point, but then there are so many jobs on the job board, and bear in mind, one job can get hundreds of CVs. So it's not a good. It's I'm not saying it's not a good starting point. It's a good starting point, but I wouldn't have lots of hope on those jobs because recruiters, your CV will go to recruiter, and they get hundreds of CVs. So if you're lucky, you might get picked up on some jobs, but not like people are thinking, I have applied for 200 jobs. I haven't heard anything from any of them, which is possible because your CV is going to an inbox where if your number is 200, recruiter will go through first 100 and get the candidate. They are not even seeing your CVs. So can you see that it's if you apply on a job board, it's going to a recruiter, and when recruiter finishes their potential candidate, you might not be able to even go into their radar. So, but sometimes you might because you might be the first 10 and they will see, and yeah, you're a suitable candidate. So it's a kind of that's where you might not hear from jobs you are applying on the job board. So my advice is targeted. So targeted means what? Look for company website. So as an example, Big Four, Deloitte, KPMG, these are big companies. Capgemini, Deloitte, they have their own website. So go on there. It's employer website, right? So their HR department will see your application, and it will be definitely be viewed by them because via those website they are not getting many applications because it's targeted, it's their own. That's where there is an effort. You need to put an effort to get to the right job. So first thing is go on to the company's website. Now there are multiple types of company's website. As an example, a local council website. So if you go on to local council website like Birmingham Council or London Council, they will be hiding computer scientist, data scientist, or BI developer, or any data related jobs or any IT related jobs. But those are the people, or those are the jobs which will be viewed by the hiring manager themselves, not by recruiter. So that's where the fundamental difference. Now, I'm not saying recruiters don't look at your CV, but for those jobs on the job board, recruiter get 200, 300, sometimes 1,000 CVs, because that is available to anybody in the world, right?
Yeah.
Indeed website or job total jobs. People can apply from anywhere, US, India, any country. But at the end of the day, recruiter needs to go through all of them. And if there are 1,000, it's not practical for them to go through 1,000 application. So if your application is lost in 1,000, it is possible that it will happen with the job board. But with this specific job website, it will not happen because only maybe 20, 30 application will be there. So I remember when I was working in the NHS, I get about 20 or 30 application max, no more than that. So I will be going through each of them, right? Because yeah.
So, what's your thought, or what's your thought on LinkedIn? Like, should how LinkedIn can help us in reaching for those people who are actively hiring?
Yeah, LinkedIn can be useful. Again, if you go on LinkedIn and keep yourself open, most of the time you will be approached by recruiter rather than employer themselves. I'm not saying employers don't, but it's likely that recruiters will be approaching you. And recruiters' main job is to build the network, right, of professionals and of employers. So if you are open to work, if they approach you, they are keeping you in mind for future opportunities. So if they approach you, it doesn't mean they have the job immediately. They might have jobs coming in because they might have potential discussions with employers. Sometimes it doesn't materialize, and then they don't need that candidate, but sometimes it does materialize. So when recruiters approach, do not have a lot of hope on that because they are looking for potential candidate for potential opportunity, and that opportunity may not materialize. So you need to bear that in mind as well. Recruiters approaching doesn't mean that, oh, there's a job, and don't get excited about it because it's potential with recruiters. Not all of them, but in most cases that will happen.
Okay, so like the first step is targeting a right option, like where we should apply, so that at least our CV is visible to the right people who can look at our CV and then see like whether we are a good candidate or not. So
Yeah.
after finding that, what should be the next step? Like, if what should I consider in my resume so that my CV or my resume is different or is different from other candidates, and I have higher chances of getting selected.
Yeah, so I think for the CV, it is important that you you lay out the CV in the right way. You know, your education, what have you studied, and your experience. Now, I understand that most graduates may not have experience because I think, especially from India, when I came, I did not have experience, any experience. I finished my degree and then just came here. So that puts us in a tricky situation because what experience do we show? So even if you have done a project in the university, you can put that as a experience. If you have done a student placement or internship somewhere, you can show that as an experience. So that kind of experience would help. Your CV should have some sort of experience. Even if you work somewhere which is not related to IT, you might have worked a couple of years in India or 1 year in India or somewhere internship for 3 months, but you have been working in a McDonald's as an example now. That skill also helps because that improves your communication skills, your organization skills. It doesn't mean you working in a McDonald's is not good to go in your CV. It can be useful because you can relate some of the qualities or characteristics you need to attain to get into IT jobs. So, as an example, when you work in a McDonald's, you'll be talking to a lot of people, right? That will improve your communication skills. You need to be organized in the way you prepare everything. So, that is your organization skill. So, that sort of things would help in your interviews as well because you need to back yourself with various skills and you can utilize that as an experience or to fulfill those qualities. But yeah, I think your CV tips will be, you should not have photos. I don't know why people put photos in there. You Personally, I don't even think hobbies are required. But if you think you want to, then it's up to people. It's a choice. It's not required. As a hiring manager, I'm not looking for hobbies, to be honest. Certification would make you different from other people, because certification shows that you have passion about your field. So, as an example, when I was doing my master's, I was interested in database side of work. So I started doing certification of SQL Server, and that made sure that when I get an interview in SQL BI developer side of roles, they can feel that yes, I'm passionate about my field and I'm interested in that, because I not just did masters but did certification on top. So that could be useful, and your experience when you put them in your CVs. Don't just write one sentence or half a sentence organizing something or preparing accounts. That's not your responsibility. It needs to be a little bit more than what you have actually done. So I have seen a lot of CVs where it's just half a line, preparing documentation. You can use that preparing documentation as a little bit more than just preparing documentation. Now, why it is important to put a couple of lines and explain properly, it shows your written communication skills. When you send something when you are working, you're not going to write just in that way. You are going to be much more professional. So you need to come across professional in your CV. And that CV is your means of coming across to your potential employer professionally. So writing that properly is important. So yeah, your writing your experience, what you have actually done, and your actual experience, like what sort of things you have done. If you take things from Google, then it may not be as effective, because people will read that as, oh yeah, I have seen something similar in the past. So it needs to be specific to yourself. That's what you have done in the past.
So from here, my key takeaways will be one of the key takeaways will be like, you need to share your interest, why you are passionate about that field. And other thing is whatever experience you have, show that in a way that it matches with the requirements of the company. So here I would like to ask two, three questions. And like first is, should I consider a one-page resume or a two-page resume? And like the number of pages I can have in my resume.
Yeah, I think it's not kind of mandatory requirement. But personally, I don't like one page CV from people, because I have seen some LinkedIn document where chief executive of Yahoo has one page CV, and via that they have applied somewhere. But then they are chief executive of Yahoo, right? They don't need resume, to be honest. They have managed Yahoo. What else do you need to prove? So for them to show that one page CV work is fine, but for my CV is like 3 to 4 page. But then I have seen CVs of 15 pages, which is not advisable. 15 pages too much. Even 4 pages might be too much. So I would say 2 to 3 pages would be ideal length of a CV. If you don't have a lot of experience, then a couple of pages should be more than enough. For the first page, you can have objective, your educational background, your some of the technical skills, and the people or management skills. What are the main skills you have? And then start with experience. First couple of companies in the first page, or the first company in the first page. Then you go on to the second page. So 2 to 3 page CV would be ideal in my view.
So, like as a recruiter, you have like recruited at the NHS and you have done so many interviews. So, if someone is applying for a technical role, do you consider other skills as well, like other soft skills of the candidate, and how do you assess uh, other than the technical skills?
Yeah, so applying for the job in the NHS has a specific process. It's not via you can you can just send a CV to hiring manager. It doesn't work like that. So if you go onto the jobs.nhs.uk, you will see that you can apply in the NHS. Now there is a specific form you need to fill in, and this is where I think a lot of people miss out the opportunity in the NHS, because it's not advertised anywhere on the job boards. It has its own website. Same is civil service jobs. So we have public service department like Department for Education, HMRC. They all are hiring people, but there is a specific jobs website called civil service job. So if you go onto that, you will see what kind of jobs they are looking for. And again, in that, they expect you to fill in the application form. Now, what does that mean? It is asking your personal information, your phone number, email, and then it's asking your employment sort of experience you have. So you take things from your CV, that's fine. But it comes to the end, there is a specific part which has supporting information. That's the key. As a hiring manager, I read that first, or I go through your CV very briefly, but I read what you write in the supporting information. And many people, they copy and paste their CV in there. That's not right. I'm not expecting you to copy and paste your CV in the supporting information. It specifically asks, how do you think you have the skills which fits into the job we are hiring for? So we are looking for a BI developer who should have experience of SQL Server reporting services, integration services, things like that. But then in the person specification, for any job, you have a job description, what you are responsible for, and you have person specification, what we are looking for. Good attention to detail skill, motivated. Those topics or those points will be there in person specification. Now you need to take each point and identify your qualities or your experience, how you meet those requirements. So attention to detail, right? It doesn't have to be your work experience. Attention to detail can be anything from your personal experience as well, or it can be from your whatever study you have done or dissertation you have done, your project you have did. You might be working as a volunteer somewhere, right? So you can even put that. But every point from that person's specification, take it and then prove how you meet those requirements. You don't need to consider all of the point, but consider 70-80% of those points and write about how do you fit into that job. And that's how you get the interview in the NHS. But it use variety of things, your experience, your projects in the university, because while you studied, and if you don't have a lot of experience, that's what you have from the university, your project, or you studied something, you did something. As an example, I did certification, right? So I can say I'm motivated about this field because I have done certification. So it proves that I'm motivated because I did this. Self-motivated point can be proven by my certification. So that's how you need to link each and every qualities in your NHS jobs application form. Fill in that form, and then you will be invited for an interview. If you have studied data scientist, like what you have studied, if you apply for data scientist at the right level, for any new graduates, band 5 or band 4 is the right level. So NHS works via band 4, band 5, band 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. You will be invited for an interview if your application is right. Now that's where people are missing out. They're not getting interviews because they're not targeting.
So, other than NHS or career pages of the companies, what else you would suggest, for the students to look for?
Yeah, so NHS jobs definitely go for use that. Civil service jobs, all the department we have in the UK, public services, they hire as well, data people or computer science people. Council jobs, all the big fours, and any website where you can go onto the website. Small companies as well, all the consulting companies, small consulting company, they have their own website.
Yeah.
And if you go on those individual website, then apply for the jobs via those websites, because they 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 will invite for an interview if you are suitable for the job. It's not getting lost basically via job board where it is potentially getting lost. And then the problem of that is it has an impact on student, that I applied for 300 jobs and nobody called me. You don't want to go through that sort of disappointing period where, I applied for 300 jobs. Whereas in NHS jobs, if you apply for 10 jobs and if you're suitable, you're likely to get an interview.
So with that, my another question will be for international students who doesn't have, like, someone who will have post-study work visa, or someone who doesn't have post-study work visa, but they're looking for sponsorship. So what will be the ratio? Do they consider this thing while hiring, or it is okay for them if the candidate is suitable for the role?
So again, it depends. So in the NHS, if you have a PSW visa, they would definitely invite you for an interview. During HR round, they will check what's your permit. So if you have PSW, every NHS organization will have their own stance. Some of them are open to work permit, and if you go onto the NHS jobs website and in the job itself, it clearly says if you are looking for sponsorship, apply for the job. It says we will consider your application. It's not like we won't consider application if you are looking for sponsorship. It does say we will consider. So this is when it comes to the ability. So I have interviewed 5 people. These 2 are suitable, and the first one doesn't need a sponsorship. I will appoint that first one. You were the second one, but you are very close to getting the first one, right? At some point, you will be the first one, and then that opens the door for you to get the job. And then, if you have a PSW for 2 years, after 2 years, they will potentially sponsor you. But then you need to have those discussions during HR round where they will ask you those questions. Some NHS organizations do a sponsorship. Some of them may not consider because they have not gone through that sponsorship process for the IT department. They may be sponsoring nurses and doctors, but they've never done it in IT. It doesn't mean they won't do it. It's just they haven't started that journey.
Okay, so this means we can check on the job portals if they can sponsor, and we can just continue filling our application and the rest of the process.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's really good. Other than that, like, if I'm applying in any other companies, if I'm applying on companies portals, what else should I consider other than my resume, or so that I'm eligible for getting a sponsorship as an international student, or it makes my profile more strong?
Yeah, so I think the main uh, point which will get you a job is your experience. Yeah, so uh, employers are looking for, where possible, experience, right? So I need to hire somebody who has an experience of Salesforce, as an example, or Workday or ServiceNow. Those are the product. And if I find somebody who has 2 years of experience, even in India, in those product, and if they were studying here and they finished, they are ideal candidate for my job requirement, and potentially I can sponsor them. So I would interview them because they have the right experience. Now, for that job, it is IT job, it's a developer job. You might be suitable as well, but you have never worked in Salesforce. So that's why I would not be considering your application for that role. But let's say if we are looking for sort of AI models, or we want to do more work on machine learning, and that's where we want to get to. But in current job, the job is a developer job, so or the data scientist job. But I know that I want to, in future, in 6 to 12 months time, we want to get towards machine learning. Then your CV might be more suitable. But you don't know what is hiring manager thinking, where they want to take the department to. So you need to just take your chance and apply for that, and hope that your experience and your education is suitable for the potential employer.
Okay, so So like, okay, so this is the part when we have applied for the jobs and suppose our CV is shortlisted. After that, during interviews, what a candidate should consider so that they don't fall or they don't fall in any in any issues or and the communication goes smoother.
Yeah, so I think the first point we need to bear in mind, I mean, this is my experience of taking interviews, is people who are technical, whether it's a culture issue or is a difference between work culture in the UK and India, in my experience, is that people who come from India who has experience and have the right skill, technical skills, they just put so much importance or emphasis on their technical skills that I'm pretty good at writing SQL. I'm pretty good at preparing report, but their communication skills or soft skills might be lacking. So I have seen in the NHS when I used to do interview, we would do technical test first of half an hour, and then we will do the score out of 10. Where do you stand? And then some of the candidates is 9 or 10 out of 10. So very good at their technical skills. But when they come in the interview, that's where they are really struggling with their communication skills. So, as an example, in SQL, there is something called SQL Server, reporting services, integration services, and analysis services. Now, when we ask the question of what is your strength and weakness, I have heard the answer of SQL Server reporting services is my strength and integration services is my weakness. One liner. Now, first of all, that itself is not quite right. We are not asking about your technical skills in terms of your strength and weakness. It's more about your softer skills, like your strength or weakness. You need to elaborate more. So your strength could be your technical skills. You can say that, but then back it up with various examples. And your weakness could be specific point about you don't have exposure to cloud technology at the moment, right? That could be your weakness. But that's how you need to explain. You can't just say SSRS and SSIS is my strength and SSAS is my weakness. That doesn't add up. And I think one question which they really struggle is how do you prioritize workload? And for some reason, we just hear this, oh, it's based on deadline. But that's what do you really do? Is it based on deadline? Let's say if you are working somewhere and you have your manager and you have managers and the managers. And when you're working something that you have a task due next Monday for your manager, and then your managers come in and say, I need this next Monday because I'm doing presentation somewhere. Can you do that? Would you say no to them? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because he is your manager's manager or she is your manager's manager. So what would you do in that scenario is you will say, okay, I will try and do this. And then you will speak to your manager and say, this person wanted this by next Monday, and I have this task due as well next Monday. So what should I do? And I'm sure your manager would go, yeah, prioritize that. So you have gone through that cycle.
Yeah.
How did you go through that cycle? Is you were working on something, and the both tasks have the same deadline now next Monday. But because your manager's manager says you have, I need to do this presentation. So that type of task is different because there is an impact. You have actually done it, but you don't explain these sort of things in the interview, right? You don't say that I will look at the nature of work and the impact of work.
Yeah.
Who is requesting?
So, what are the general questions which are asked in any kind of interviews, other than the technical questions, which anyone should prepare and keep in mind?
Yeah, I think I have listed about 30 interview questions which are more likely to be asked, and I'm happy to share those. I mean, those simple things like tell me about yourself, what is your strength and weakness, how do you prioritize? Conflict is an important one. When there is a conflict, how do you resolve conflict? Why you want to leave your job? I mean, those questions are designed to see, are you criticizing your employer? Because you are working somewhere And if you don't like certain things, it is going to happen that you won't like certain things. But it's you need to come across more constructive when you say certain things like I don't like somebody's attitude, or I don't like I have problem with my managers. You can't say those things. You need to be very pragmatic and very careful about what you say about your current employer. Why it is important? Because in future you might do the same for the new employer. So it shows your attitude or the way you will behave in future. What the employer is trying to understand is what you have done in the past, which can have an impact in future as well.
If we are not getting response from the company, what a candidate, what a student should do in that case?
So in the NHS jobs, as far as I know, there is a process. Even if you're not selected, they will send you a message that your application is unsuccessful. I definitely know that in the NHS. Even in civil service, it's the same. Whether that is the same for job board, yeah, it's unlikely. Those because they're getting so many, that process is not there. So in the NHS jobs or specific where you have the name of the person to contact, if your application is unsuccessful, you can contact them because there will be a contact person on those jobs. You can talk to them and say, "Can you give me some feedback why my application was not selected?" If you think that you have all the skills required, it could be potentially because they are looking for experienced candidate and you don't have suitable candidate experience. But it's always good to understand hiring manager's perspective on why your application is not selected, because that will help you to then write in future applying for the next job. What sort of things you need to bear in mind?
So I think these are the couple of questions that I had, and that really thank you so much for giving your answers on that and sharing your views and experience on those questions. I'll really say, like, if any one of you who is watching this video and have any questions, you can reach out to Vijay on LinkedIn, and you can ask your queries in the comment section. And the list which of the questions which Vijay is talking about, I'll attach in the description so you can check from there. So I think, and is there anything else that you will suggest to students that they should consider when they're starting their job hunting and all?
In the interview, asking questions is important, I think, at the end, because most of the times when I interviewed people, I hardly had people asking questions, because as much as we wanted to hire you, you want to work in the company as well. So you might have some questions.
Yeah.
What is the structure of the department? How many people are there in the team? What kind of technology do you use? What's the plan for the next 1 to 2 years in terms of where the department is going? That that proves that you're trying to understand what we are doing currently and what are the potential plans and how you could be suitable.
Yeah.
So and that opens up a lot of other discussions as well. So yeah, that's asking question is important. Most of the times, when are you going to make the decision? That's the question candidate ask. Well, it's 2 to 4 days. Most of the times, it's within a week. It's not going to be like straight away. That looks like you are asking questions for sake of it. When are you going to make a decision? You should prepare yourself with some questions which you think you want to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, I have asked in the past, like what kind of things you enjoy working here. What is the best thing working here, and what is the one thing you don't like about working here, and that puts a hiring manager into a situation of thinking, oh, yeah, I like these things, but I might not like this thing. But they need to be very careful about what they say as well. So yeah, but that opens up interesting discussion sometimes with hiring.
I have a lot of questions. This is but after like after once someone starts their journey in any company, what they should consider. So we can maybe have another discussion on that. But it really nice to have you in today's video and getting to know about so many valuable points, which are really helpful. And I hope video will be helpful for the students who are watching it. And thank you so much for giving your time. And I hope to connect with you again in the future to have another podcast with you.
Yeah, no problem at all. Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye bye.